Hello and welcome to the weekly reading. So I get the message that for this week, because it's a very, very important and intense week, that I'm going to share this message with everybody, with my YouTube channel, just so they get a sense of the work that we're doing a little bit more behind the scenes in the Patreon channel with the weekly readings, plus also the live healings that we're doing monthly. So because this week is such an important week, you probably already felt the shift of the tone of the energy, and it might be a little bit like, what the hell is happening? It's not necessarily feel-good energy, I have to say. It's intense, very, very intense energy, and that's because it's all about Pluto this week. Pluto moving through the very last degrees of Capricorn, 29 degrees of Capricorn, which is an anaretic degree. It's the final degree in that house. And so it represents endings, but it can be very volatile, that degree, because it wants to destabilize, it wants to collapse everything associated with that sign. And especially with Pluto, it's going into the underworld. It's very much a sense that, yeah, we're releasing a lot of that old Capricorn energy. And this isn't necessarily the very, very final time that we're going to be seeing Pluto at 29 degrees, because it does move back in later in the year and retrograde back for a couple of months. But this is the second last time. It's very much like the last time we're going to be working through this energy in our lifetime. And it can feel really, really intense. And then by the end of the week, Pluto moves into Aquarius. And at the same time, the very last day that Pluto's at 29 degrees, the Sun is also at 29 degrees of Capricorn. The Sun is conjunct Pluto. And then they both move into, the very next day, they move into Aquarius. The Sun is at 0 degrees of Aquarius, Pluto at 0 degrees of Aquarius. And so the Sun and Pluto are traveling together, which is fascinating, which if you think about, everything revolves around the Sun. The Sun is giving us a message, because the Sun is very much connected to our sense of who we are, our ego, our self-expression, our identity in this lifetime of our sense of self. And it shines. Everything revolves around the Sun in our solar system. So the Sun is giving us a message that everything needs to revolve around this Pluto energy, that it really wants us to bring our attention, and it's almost like we don't have a lot of choice with that. Everything is going to revolve around this Pluto energy, changing signs. So it's interesting, and to think about Pluto is the underworld as well. It's the things that are ready to come up from the shadows to be transformed. And in comes the Sun, shining the light in the underworld, shining the light in those last vestiges, those last things that are ready to be transformed. And Capricorn is about structures. It's the master builder. So it can feel like the collapse of those structures. And it can feel you can feel very off with this energy. It can feel very destabilizing. And it can feel strange. It can just feel, I just feel out of sorts and weird. Because a lot of those old things that you have clung on to or have been a sense of order or stability in your life are now being removed, disassembled, dissolved. And so the image they're showing me is quite literally somebody holding on to the final rungs of a ladder and looking down and seeing the darkness within, and knowing that at any point, one by one, each rung of that ladder is going to start disappearing. Disappearing, disappearing, disappearing. Can hear in the background a chook. One of my chickens has laid an egg. I don't know if you can hear that. So I read everything into the readings. At that point, it might feel so scary. You could quite literally feel fear. Or you could feel a little bit lost, or it could just feel like, I feel like I'm just need to surrender. The word I was given was surrender to a power greater than me, and trust that what I'm letting go of is what I need to let go of, that which is no longer serving me. And it's going to feel a little bit strange moving into the new, but trusting that there's a birth. It is the planet of birth, death, and rebirth. And in that final letting go, that image they were giving me of each rung of the ladder dissolving, you had to keep climbing until eventually there is no ladder. At that point where it's almost like you're feeling lost, surrendering and letting go, that's when the birth happens. Birth, death, rebirth. We're seeing the chooks saying somebody's laid an egg. This is the birth of something new. And then Pluto moves into Aquarius. And it shines the light on a whole new aspect and area. It's moved into an air sign, fixed air sign. So it's about fixed air, fixed belief systems, fixed thoughts, fixed ideas. And you think about what the underworld is. It's things that have been there in the shadows that haven't had the light of consciousness shone on them. And here's the sun suddenly shining the light, going, okay, this is what we're moving on to. We're looking at some of your fixed belief systems, your old ideas, ways that you've been working with things in your life. You know, this can be to do with technology, big changes and revolutions when it comes to technology, transformations that are coming through. But it's almost like you're seeing something differently now. And it can be a new sense of, because Pluto's all about power and control, where we've wanted more power and control, or where we've felt powerful, or where we have had power held over us and felt controlled. And so suddenly there's this sense of, I get a new sense of power coming through with Pluto in Aquarius. Perhaps I can own some of my own belief systems, my own thoughts that I've been given from other people or other things around me. Perhaps now I can be the one who can transform that and be in power. So it feels like a very different energy where suddenly we're in Pluto in Aquarius, the sun's in Aquarius, and it feels lighter. It's like we've moved away from that very scary, dark place. So it can feel a little bit like Pluto is the planet of intensity, so expect the intensity to ramp up all this week and into the next week as well as we move into the full moon of Leo. And it's a journey. It's going to be this journey. So the other thing they're bringing me to is Mars. We've got a very, very strong Mars at this moment in time. Mars in Capricorn, traveling next to Mercury in Capricorn. Mars is exalted in Capricorn, which means it works the best in Capricorn because it's about getting stuff done. Capricorn has a plan. It knows how. It's very practical. It knows how to create a plan, and Mars comes in and says, I know how to do it. I know how to complete it. So it's really, a recipe for getting things done, recipe for success, recipe for achievement on a longer term timeline. But Mars is also out of bounds this week, which means that Mars doesn't play within the normal rules or the normal orbit. And so it can be Mars next to Mercury itself can be words can pack a punch. Absolutely. So be careful about your words. Suddenly it might come out and it's like, boom, it just landed on someone. I'm like, I didn't mean it like that. Or you could be the recipient of it. It's like, boom, a bomb going off kind of thing. So Mars can definitely pack a punch with Mercury. And the feeling I get with Mars out of bounds is it's like, I just don't want to play by the same old rules. I want to do things differently. I don't want to do the same thing over again, motivated by change, because it's also trining Jupiter in Taurus and Uranus in Taurus. So it's like I'm really, really motivated and ready for a change. But at the same time, it's kind of interesting that it's like Mars is saying, I don't want to play by the same rules anymore. I want to do things differently. I don't want to be the same, do the same, have the same goals. Something has to shift and change. And then we've got Pluto deconstructing the old rules, the old boundaries, the old structures of Pluto and Capricorn. So it might feel a little bit like part of you might feel really ready for this change. And another part is almost like grieving the loss of the old. So it can feel like a bit of a strange place to be in. And what Mars in Capricorn is doing is it's moving into a square with Chiron and the North Node over the next week. Mars and Mercury. And this is where it feels like, but there's, those words that pack a punch can actually get straight in there into people's wounds, challenge your sense of identity, and the wounds that have been holding you back from stepping into a purpose, a sense of purpose, or a sense of, this feels right. And it can feel a little bit like, okay, I felt like this is all moving forward, and then boom, something just questions it, or I don't feel strong enough, or it's a real challenge to shift something within me that I've held onto as a sense of identity, or it's an unformed sense of identity that's ready to step into a new form with a new sense of purpose, with a new sense of confidence. But it's almost like you can knock the wind out of that a little bit, or it's a challenge to finally do things differently and be different, to have the confidence to do that. So we're really, really going to be challenged this week. And we're moving into they're bringing me to the full moon in Leo, which feels like, to me, there's a lot of inner child energy with that. It feels a little bit like inner child's out of control, just screaming, having a tantrum, like a toddler having a tantrum, going, where's my attention? Why isn't everything as I want it to be? As little children, I'm not getting what I want. It feels a little bit out of control. So this is going to be a bit of an emotional roller coaster, this energy. But at the same time, the full moons are about illumination. They're about culmination. They're about understanding that you cannot go back to that past anymore. The things that have been destabilized, the structures that have given you a sense of stability, that maybe you're realizing that you have to move on from that now, those old structures. And it's almost like there's an adult part of us that realizes this change is irrevocable. We can't go back now. But the child part of us is screaming and yelling and going, I want this, I want my, like having a little tantrum. So it's going to be this interesting kind of energy between maturing into a new sense of reality, a sense of being, a sense of power and understanding what this new energy is, trying to let it settle a little bit. And then there's going to be parts of us that are just going to be screaming and resisting it and not understanding it. I don't understand why this has happened, why this is happening. And so it's just about bringing those parts of you. Again, there's a surrendering, but it's understanding that not all parts of you are going to fully understand this at the same time. And if you can be really patient and deeply compassionate with those parts of you that are resisting or don't understand, imagine that you're speaking to a little toddler, and they can be annoying when they have tantrums, but it's because they don't understand things. They don't understand adults. They don't understand something bigger, a power bigger than them. And so it's really about just being really like quiet and calm and trying to talk to that part of you and let it know that it's okay, and try and explain it in ways that it can understand, if that makes any sense. So any kind of inner child healing could actually be really, really good this week. And to be able to just sit with the discomfort of some of these energies we pass through. There is a passing through, a passing on of old energies. then this is where, if we can sit with the discomfort of it, then it allows the energy to pass through us as well. So I want to pull a message from the Ascended Masters around that. Okay. Detach from drama, Pallas Athena. Okay. Yes, that would be a very good advice. And actually, interestingly, Pallas Athena always is a very Aquarius type energy for me because it's very emotionally detached. Look at it logically. Yeah, a lot of emotions. There's a journey of the moon this week, moving into the full moon. So it's going to be quite emotional, absolutely. But there's a rational part of us that can understand if you emotionally detach from any of the dramas that are going on, either inside of you and externally to you, because think about the fact that everybody is going to be going through this. Everybody's going to be feeling quite destabilized in a way with this final letting go and surrendering that's coming through here. And there's opportunities for people to project their own fears onto you. So to be really aware of that, especially with this Mars and Mercury energy, that could really be strong words. Absolutely. So this is also a great time to be making those plans, to actually be making those longer term plans, despite the fact that it might feel like there's all these parts of you that are resisting it or whatever it is. Maybe things aren't, but still moving forward with those plans. But this is a sense of understanding if somebody does project something onto you and you just can feel really off as a result, or vice versa. The best way is to detach from drama. It can get messy with all this energy around. Sit with your own energies, get into your rational, detach from how you're feeling about it. That's okay. You still got your feelings. You still got the sense of understanding what's going on, but look at it in a more rational light. That's actually going to really help you. So these are my Pluto cards, and these are my Sun cards, because Pluto and the Sun are conjunct and the major players of the week. We are going to pull some cards. Of course, we have the Three of Swords, which is about wounds. Absolutely. It's quite a macabre card, this Three of Swords. Wounds coming up. And this can feel like a lot of stuff around family as well at this moment in time. And it can also bring up feelings of betrayal and big, deep questionings around trust as well. That might be something that Pluto is trawling through that underworld and saying, we can see there's a bit of a storm here in the background. So this is the darkness, the cloudiness that can come through with it. But we are wanting to be able to clear those wounds. But it always requires a lot of courage to be able to let it come up and out and be cleared. So the other thing that they're saying is that this energy can bring up old trauma as well. So just to be aware of that. Be really gentle with yourself this week. So we have the Sun card. What is the Sun showing us? I just wanted to check that this wasn't reversed, and it is reversed. Okay, so we have the Nine of Cups. Interesting. A lot of emotional healing and clearing out, a lot of emotional wounds that are coming up. The Sun reversed. What I feel like is that this is the Sun showing you what, by holding on to these wounds, it's been like almost like a poison, a toxic energy that you're ready to let go and release. I feel like these cups are flowing down. We want to let go of it. We want to let go of everything. It's not fulfilling anymore. And strangely, Pluto is guiding us towards something where we can overcome our wounds and step into something of deeper fulfillment. But it requires the clearing out of the old before we can really step into that. So that feels like the final 29 degree of Pluto in Capricorn. So let's pull a card for Pluto moving into Aquarius. Let's see what we have here. Okay. Okay. King of Pentacles, the Two of Cups, and the Ten of Swords. Here we have Athena again. So we've got Athena, the goddess of truth and wisdom and battle strategy, coming in. She's a very Aquarius-like energy. And here she is. She's been called in. These little snake-like creatures, they've put a curse on Orestes here. The curse is now over. It's the ending of the belief system. It's the ending of, a thought pattern that was no longer serving Orestes. Athena has come in and said no, put an end to it. And it's interesting because we do have the Two of Cups next to it, which is definitely around a relationship, a very close personal relationship, whether this is a love relationship or somebody that you loved or was supposed to love you, and for some reason you've taken on some kind of belief system or fixed ideas or on their opinions of you, and it hasn't been serving you. This Orestes, look at it, his needs, this is recovery and transformation of something that's going on deeply inside a deeply held belief system inside the mind. So it's a transformation of communication, absolutely. And we also have the King of Pentacles, because it felt like this is the story of King Midas. For some of you, this is about money and abundance and worth, self-worth. But King Midas was the king that everything he touched turned to gold. So look, he's got that big pile of gold. Interestingly, he's the Capricorn king. So we're moving away from that Capricorn energy. And the Capricorn, this can represent banks. It can represent financial institutions. It can represent old ways of businesses running and new ways to be bringing in new currencies, new ways of dealing with that, new ways of trading, new businesses, all sorts of things around that definitely could come through. But on a personal level, this King of Pentacles feels like it's the thing that came through with the King of Pentacles with King Midas is everything he touched turned to gold, but including the food that he ate. So he couldn't feed himself. He ended up dying because he couldn't eat from just eating money, being fed off something that wasn't fulfilling him, wasn't sustaining him, which is interesting. That's what's been cleared out here with the Three of Swords and the Nine of Cups. And so it's understanding that energy of what potentially you've been taught or a belief system around what fulfills you, realizing it can't sustain you. It actually won't, it won't bring you it won't feed you. It won't give you what you need. And reworking that, shifting that idea, releasing some very, very negative belief systems around money, around fulfillment, around even diet and food that comes in around that as well, relationship to body that comes through, which is something that comes in. And ultimately it's about being taught to want or desire something or need something that is not right for you or that doesn't serve you anymore. And this is something that's probably quite tangible as well, the fact it's the King of Pentacles, something that we can work through that tangible realm. But yes, we're seeing that there's probably, and this could definitely be a parent or a guardian of some sort, a very strong authority figure in your life from when you were young that taught you this, that something around that is being deconstructed, that's coming in on a personal level with Pluto in Aquarius. On a bigger level, yes, this is a sense that, on a level outside of us, the Three of Swords and the Nine of Cups can be, that can be things, very intense stuff when it comes to conflict in the world, wounds, conflicts, things like that. But then when we move into the Pluto and Aquarius energy, where it feels like, we're looking at governments, institutions, we're looking at currencies, we're looking at the way the world works instead of all that trade and technology and release of old belief systems. So there's a thought revolution that can go on around all of that. So I just wanted to pull a fairy card. The fairies wanted to talk this week as well. So here we have the journeyman. Yes, we are going on a journey of the moon. Absolutely. It starts this week. We spoke of that. We can see this is the journeyman walking and is holding the moon. taking the moon with it. And the moon is something intangible, it's feelings, but there's a culmination. We're moving and heading towards that full moon in Leo where things might start to make a little bit more sense with this energy that we're working on. But it's very much a sense that you're going on a very deep intuitive journey this week, and to understand that you're going to have to really trust your intuition with some of the places that you are traveling through at this moment with the journeyman. Interestingly, this journeyman is walking with somebody as well. So there might be somebody by your side, or somebody that is going through similar things that you might be able to connect to, reach out to, that understands, yeah, okay, let's go on this journey together. So, and I feel like we want to pull these cards, just a picture that might be forming at this moment in time. Let's have a look at what we've got. Okay, yes, the summer, winter, and the Five of Forces, summer, winter. It's interesting, the actual mythology of Hades and Persephone and the underworld is around the creation of the seasons. And the underworld is like the winter, where everything's dead, everything dies, and it's a cold, dark place. But then we move into the sun, which is the summer energy, shining the light on that cold, dark place as well. And seeing that there are these very, very different energies, there's potentially a changing of the seasons. It might really feel like that, not literally, but in terms of some of the energy that we're working with, some of those waters that are frozen there in the underworld, which represents emotions that have, been held onto or have been hidden, have been suppressed. For whatever reason, the sun is shining in them, perhaps it's ready for them to start flowing again. So again, that can bring up a lot of very deep, unresolved emotions, to be aware of that. But also it means that that gets to flow again, and it brings life back into a situation in that winter energy. The frosts can start to thaw, and the rivers can start to flow again, and then that flows down into new areas, which creates life, creates a fertility with the soil, and moves into spring, into new growth. So to understand that these are around the birth, death, and rebirth, the energies around Pluto is around the cycles, and that we're dealing with things like summer and winter type energies. These are peak seasons. These are where things either culminate and it's really hot or it's really cold. They're extremes. So Pluto also works with extremes. It's either one thing or the other. So just to understand that these extremes and extreme reactions and extremes can be coming up with this energy as well, with this summer, winter, but also that Pluto ultimately wants to transform a situation, and to understand that those rivers, those icy rivers, are wanting to flow again. So I do want to pull. This is quite a bit of a longer one, but I thought I'd nearly finished. I feel like there's an animal spirit energy about to flip out. We have the butterfly. Yes, absolutely. So it is about the butterfly spends its time in the cocoon, that's the underworld, and when it's ready to fly out into the light, you're finding new wings. It's moving into the element of air. Something is transforming here, and something could actually be very beautiful. An idea or a new form of communication or something that's been ready to take off could start finding these new wings here, and it could feel quite powerful, which is really beautiful with this butterfly energy. This is about transformation of the mind. So very, very lovely. That thing that's been there in that cocoon, in that underworld, that's just been there more metamorphosizing. The metamorphosis is complete and it's ready to come up and out now. So this could be a whole heap of brilliant new ideas or plans, thoughts that can come up out of that as well. A change of the higher patternings in the cosmic mind can come through. And I'm going to finish it off with, a final affirmation card. And this really brings us back to, again, that word power, which Pluto is really associated with. It says, the point of power is always in the present moment. The past is over and done and has no power over me. I can begin to be free in this moment, like this beautiful butterfly. Today's thoughts create my future. Absolutely. That's the Pluto moving into Aquarius. I am in charge. I now take my own power back. I am safe and I am free. Wow, you couldn't actually have chosen a better and more apt affirmation card. So that is the reading for the week. I'm hoping that gave you some things to navigate through this energy and just understand it is going to be really, really intense. But there's all these beautiful things that can come out of that as well once we are the butterfly that comes out of the cocoon. So thank you so much for joining me, and look forward to next week.